Welcome back, everyone who's watching, to the next episode in Whoniverse Database. If you haven't already, then please take some time to watch the previous entries in this series. You can find them in a playlist on my channel, which I'll link in the description of this video as well. In this episode, I'll tackle the gargantuan chunk of Doctor Who canon that is the pre-universe and the Great Old Ones. This is one of the series' most intriguing, expansive and at times mind-boggling aspects of canon, and for some time now has been one of my favourite parts of the franchise. This will almost certainly end up being a very long video in comparison to the last three. This topic is one of the ones that's been explored the most in the expanded media, in comics, books and audios, and is actually present in many parts of Doctor Who that you might not actually realise, because heaven knows I didn't before reading up on it. Due to this being such a massive subject, there's no way I'll be able to cover it all in these videos, but I'll try and include as much as I can that I think is worth mentioning. According to the Time Lords, many millennium ago, there existed a universe before the one we currently live in, a universe that came during and before what we know as the Dark Times. This universe was named the Pre-Universe by Rassilon. The Pre-Universe was inhabited by many mysterious and powerful beings, and when their universe finally collapsed eons ago, many of them escaped into the new one that was formed at the same time as the old one's destruction. This new universe is our universe. These beings, referred to as Great Old Ones, or just Old Ones for short, were found to have godlike powers in our universe, and many of them set out to manipulate and change the universe with these powers. Dozens and dozens of Doctor Who villains and creatures are all part of the collective pantheon of Great Old Ones that came through from the pre-universe. These include, but are by no means limited to, Fenric, the Great Intelligence, the Nestine Consciousness, the Guardians, the Grace, the Animus, also known as a Loiga, the Gods of Ragnarok, the Celestial Toymaker, the Destroyer and the Beast himself, just to name a very few, as there are literally loads of them. Great Old Ones were thought to have been the pre-universe equivalent of Time Lords when they were still in their own dimension, which makes the ones that are still heavily active incredibly dangerous and powerful. The ones that are still active in our universe are sometimes known as Elder Gods, and these include Old Ones like the Great Intelligence, Fenric and the Animus. Many different Old Ones have a whole host of immense powers. The Gods of Ragnarok could reanimate the dead and created the land of fiction. The Great Intelligence could follow the TARDIS and trap it in flight. Fenric could possess human beings and create time storms. The Guardians, who were used as agents by the Grace, could help keep time in check, and the Grace were the ones who created the key to time and worked to maintain the order of balance in the universe. Not much is known about the way the Old Ones of society may have operated in the pre-universe, but it is known that they used a dimension known as the Board to watch and play games on a galactic level in order to amuse themselves. The Great Old Ones have existed in our universe for thousands upon thousands of years without most species knowing their true origins. A considerable number were absorbed into religion and mythos, and as demons and legends throughout civilizations of the pre-universe. One of the most notable examples of this would be the Beast, who claims to literally be the inspiration for Satan or the devil in all the universe's religions. That's the section of general information about the Great Old Ones over with, but I'd like to go into some more depth on some specific Old Ones and how they fit into the Doctor Who timeline. The Animus was the last of the species known as the Loigas. It became the last since it was the only one that could successfully cross from the pre-universe at the point of its destruction into this one. The Animus ended up on the planet Vortis, where it rooted itself into part of the planet and created its own fortress-like structure to reside in. It enslaved the species known as Zarbi on the planet and used them to drive away the Menoptera so it could take the whole of Vortis for itself. Fenric, also known as Hastur the Unspeakable, was an Old One that even other Old Ones feared. He became known as Fenric in the beginning of time in this universe and was the evil side of two forces. The Doctor was able to banish Fenric to the Shadow Dimensions after beating him in a game of chess. Sometime in the 10th century, Fenric summoned a Haemavor called the Ancient One to retrieve the flask he himself was imprisoned in after it was captured by human Vikings. One Viking managed to bury the flask beneath St Jude's Church in England, where it would remain until 1943, where Fenric would later escape to fight the 7th Doctor and once again use Haemavors and the Ancient One as his soldiers. The descendants of the original Viking settlers that stole the flask were all unknown carriers of Fenric's influence. These people were called the Wolves of Fenric and even included the Doctor's companion Ace. They were all pawns in Fenric's grand scheme to orchestrate his escape. Fenric was left without a corporeal form by the end of the story The Curse of Fenric, when the Ancient One gave his own life to kill Fenric's physical form. The Great Intelligence was a formless, shapeless being with no body of its own. While its exact origins are debated and its timeline is somewhat convoluted, it has had numerous run-ins with the Doctor and Earth. It twice tried to take over the Earth using robot Yetis, once in 1935 in Tibet and then again some 40 years later in the London Underground. Both attempts were halted by the second Doctor, Jamie, Victoria and Professor Travers. Later on in the 19th century, the Great Intelligence took possession of Mr. Simeon and built an army of snowmen made of sentient snow particles. This plan was stopped by the 11th Doctor's intervention. It then again tried to take over the Earth in 2013 using the Wi-Fi to trap people's minds in a network database. He was again thwarted by the 11th Doctor. The Great Intelligence even tried to destroy the Doctor's entire timeline by entering his open time stream on Trenzalore, but was prevented from doing any major damage by Clara Oswald. Many other meetings have taken place between the Intelligence and the Doctor, but for the sake of time here I won't go over any more. The Guardians of Time, also referred to as just Guardians, were among the highest and most powerful of the Great Old Ones. The White Guardian and the Black Guardian were the most prominent of the group, with the White Guardian representing light, order and structure, and the Black Guardian representing chaos, entropy and darkness. Other Guardians who represented other things include the Azure, Red, Gold and Crystal, aka the Celestial Toymaker, Guardians. The Black and White Guardians were also used as agents for the beings known as the Grace. The Guardians were masters of reality and all embodied several aspects of the universe and were all technically a collective consciousness similar to other old ones. They were involved with the Doctor on screen on 2 occasions, once during the first recovery of the Key to Time where the White Guardian employed the help of the 4th Doctor and the Black Guardian used the Shadow to do his work, and then later on when the Black Guardian tried to kill the Doctor using Turlough and take possession of Enlightenment where he was stopped and defeated by Turlough, the Doctor, Tegan and the White Guardian. It's also possible that the Celestial Toymaker is the Crystal Guardian of dreams and fantasy, but this account has no solid evidence to confirm it for sure. The gods of Ragnarok were 3 great old ones who would make lesser sentient beings suffer for their own entertainment. They're notable for creating the dimension called the Land of Fiction encountered by the second Doctor as a pet project. However, they abandoned it soon after its creation. They primarily resided in the Dark Circus, which was the dimension in which they lured gladiators and fed off the entertainment they provided until they died. A well on the planet Seganax was the entrance to the Dark Circus. The gods of Ragnarok took over the travelling psychic circus when it visited the planet Seganax, keeping it on the planet and using it as a trap to lure victims and make them perform to the death to feed their hunger for entertainment. The link the gods had with this universe was severed by the 7th Doctor in The Greatest Show in the Galaxy. Although able to manifest in different time phases simultaneously, their true form always remained in the Dark Circus. And lastly, the Grace were great old ones existing in a state of non-existence outside of time and space. They are at the very top of the hierarchy of great old ones, above even the Guardians, making them one of the most powerful entities ever to have existed. They work to hold the balance of the universe together and also occasionally step in to prevent reality from falling apart. They were the ones that created the Key to Time and used the Black and White Guardians as agents. However, they also on occasion created living tracers to find the segments of the Key to Time themselves, when they didn't want the Guardians involved. The Doctor imagined the Grace as being peaceful but also believed that they had the power to crush him with just a single thought. They were sometimes referred to as the Greater Old Ones due to their elevated position above the Guardians and all other Great Old Ones. And that concludes the 4th episode in the Whoniverse database series. We've covered a general backstory and information on the Great Old Ones in the pre-universe and also looked in some more depth at 6 of the most commonly known Old Ones in the Doctor Who universe. If I had infinite time and willpower, then I'm sure I could cover all the information we know about this topic, but I think I can leave it here for now. This was a really time-consuming video to make and also made my head hurt on a few occasions, but I tried my best to include as much relevant information as I could and hope it turned out to be an enjoyable video. If you did enjoy, then please leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already for more of this series, the next episode of which will be about the parallel Earth that appears in the 3rd Doctor story Inferno. I'll see you all when that comes out. Until then, keep on whoing.